Students, today let us see one problem regarding the deformation, whereby we can see there are two forms of deformation. One is the libel, another is the slander. Here, libel is in the form of a defamatory statement made in a written form. That means it is a false and defamatory statement made in a written form, defaming a person. And with regard to slander, it is an oral, false and defamatory statement by spoken words. And with regard to the other difference between libel and slander, with regard to libel, it is addressed to the eyes generally. That means it can be seen by eyes. So, when it is in written form, it can be seen by the eyes. Whereas slander, it is addressed to the ears generally. That means we can see the slander by ears. And with regard to libel, it is in a permanent form, painting, picture, effigy, advertisement, and taking film. That is what we can see. It is all these things what it will show. It is with regard to the defaming a person by way of permanent what you call pictures or picture. So it is a both civil and criminal wrong. So libel is a both civil and criminal wrong. Here it is itself. So because it is actionable per se. So the special damage need not to be proved in the libel. So here libel has been made with a definite and deliberate intention. It shows the malice of the defendant. So here what we can see, here the libel has been made with a malice to defame the reputation of a person. Whereas the slander, it is a civil wrong and also a criminal wrong. So here the special damage or loss has to be proved in slander. It is not actionable per se because it is not the in the permanent form. So here we can see take the hearsay evidence. So it may be made in the heat of the moment or under sudden provocation. Likewise. So these are all the major differences between the libel and the slander. So with regard to the libel, the first essential is that the statement should be false. That is must be, should be. So those things we know with regard to the libel, and it must be defamatory one, and it must be made without lawful justification, and it should be made in a temporary form. So these are all the things we can see the essentials of the libel. So in today's the problem solving, I have taken one problem from the KSLU exams, whereby solving the problem with regard to the libel. So let us go to the problem of with regard to the defamation, and I need not have to tell you with regard to the steps which has to be followed in solving the problems. First one, you have to write the facts, then you have to frame the one issue or more than one issue, then you have to go for the rule or provision of law, then you have to make the analysis, then you have to write the conclusion. If you follow these steps, there is every likelihood that you will get the good marks. So let us go to the problem with regard to the knowing these steps. The problem runs like this. the defendant wrote a letter to virtuous woman. That means a bad character woman, using very abusive words to her. And what the defendant he has done, he not only written the letter, he enclosed it properly in an envelope, properly fastened and posted it to her. That means he has addressed the letter to the plaintiff, that is a virtuous woman. So here in this problem they are asking us whether this will amount to defamation. So here what you have to see here, as I have told you, first we have to simplify the facts. Then we have to write the provision of law. Then we have to frame the issue. We can frame one issue or more than one issue. Then we have to analyze all these facts, provision of law, issue in the analysis section. Then we have to write the conclusion. So that is the step how we should solve the problem under the law of torts or any law subjects. So here I have simplified in this way. A defendant wrote a letter to a virtuous woman with abusive words. So that is one thing. The second thing is he posted it, that is addressed to the plaintiff by proper fostering it. He has taken every care that it should not go to the other person. Only the plaintiff, she should read that letter. So that is the facts of the case, instant case which has been given here. So and in the problem itself they have highlighted this will attract the defamation. That means whether it will attract the defamation. Here we have to, that's why we have to, even though it does not fall under the defamation, we have to make it as defamation. And there is one more aspect is there, that is under Indian Penal Code, that is section 499 of IPC. Here also it speaks with regard to the defamation only. So here in under 499 IPC it provides that whoever by words spoken or intended to be read or by sign or by visible representation makes or publishes any imputation concerning any person intending to harm or knowing or having reason to believe that such imputation will harm the reputation of such person is said to be the defamation. That means it's said to be defaming the person. That means what we can see, what we can read out from this definition, that it may amount to defamation to impute anything to even to that means impute anything which is addressed to the person. So here what we have to see, so we can find the definition in the Indian Penal Code, not under the law of torts concerning to the defamation. So I have written the section 499 IPC only in order to read which are the ingredients which will come under the with regard to the defamation. But here with regard to the defamation, what we can say here, this may be civil wrong as well as a crime also. Defamation is both civil wrong and crime. Here with regard to this purpose, we have to write the provision of law. Here I don't come across any decided cases with regard to this the instant case. That's why I have just written the defamation on section 499 APC. Here it's not the compulsory that every problem should have the decided case laws. Because normally the case laws will be given. The problems with case laws only will be given in the examination, so that a student he is well aware with regard to the facts of the decided cases and the principles which has been taught in the classroom with regard to that decided cases. So that's why universities, they prefer to give the problems with case laws only, with the decided case law only. So in this with regard to this the problem, I do not come across with regard to any decided case law. Here, the issue is that whether a closed letter sent to plaintiff containing abusive words attracts defamation. So that is the thing. Here, what we have to see, here as I told you, in defamation, two things are there, that is libel and slander. If it is in written forum, that is libel. If it is not in the written forum, orally it has been said, that is a slander. So we have to analyze all these facts, provision of law issue under the analysis section. So here we can say that does not fall under the defamation because it does not come under the essentials of the defamation. And I have to say to you, what are all the essentials of the defamation? That means the statement must be false. The first aspect that the statement must be false. Here the defendant has written a letter to virtuous woman with abusive words. That means whatever the character of the woman, he has written a letter to that woman. Later I will come to with regard to whether the defendant has got a right, has got the right to write a letter to the virtuous woman. But we are discussing with regard to the defamation. So with regard to the defamation under libel, the first characteristics which in order to say that the instant problem should attract the libel means it should the statement it should be false. So if it is true, then it does not attract the libel. Here the statement is not a false. The defendant has made a statement with regard to the woman in the abusive words. So that is it does not attract the libel, the first aspect. Second is it must be defamatory one. That means here it is addressed to only to that woman. It is not addressed to any other person other than the woman. So it will not become a defamatory one, even though it hurts that woman, it hurts the feelings of woman. But she has got the recourse in other form of law, but not with regard to the defamation. Here, the third one is it must be made in some permanent forum. It will be there. This will fall under the characteristics of the defamation. And second one is it must be made without lawful justification. Here, with regard to this one, why he has written whether it is a unlawful intention. So here we cannot say it is unlawful. See, it is when it is not unlawful, it is presumed to be a lawful. And the special damage must be actionable per se. So that is the last aspect we can see with regard to the essentials of the libel. Here the proof of special damage or the extent of the lowering of the reputation, it need not be proved by the plaintiff in case of libel, but it should be published. It should be gone to the notice of the third person. Then only the special damage it will become the actionable per se. So these are all things we can see under the concept of analysis. Then what should be the decision? The decision is that the defamatory statement must be published and others should have come to the knowledge of this aspect. In present problem, no doubt there is abusive letter sent to woman, but it has not been communicated to anyone. That means here the contents of the letter has not been communicated to any person other than the woman, that is the plaintiff in the above case. So these are all the things we can do these are the reasons for our decision making. So the plaintiff cannot request remedy under defamation. Rather than she can request her remedy in the criminal proceedings. It may be with regard to the outraging the modesty of women or any other aspect. She has got the remedy in the other proceedings. It may be criminal proceedings. Even though that woman she may be the she may not be a good character. She may be of any character. She may be a virtuous woman, but the defendant he should not have what you call defamed her. That means here the defamed it will not come under the defamation, because the generally we can say, that means we can use certain words, but when we use the words in law, it should have the some legal bearing. So in order to attract defamation, there are two things should be there. One is libel, another is the slander. Libel means it should be in written form, slander means it should be in the oral form. In both the things, it should be addressed with malice, and it has been addressed to the plaintiff, and lowering the reputation of the plaintiff in the eyes of the third person. So that is the main characteristics of the defamation. So in this problem, the problem, it does not attract the essentials of the libel, so it does not come under the defamation. So this is with regard to the problem of defamation.